Dr. Abby Medcalf here, and today I'm teaching you my top 5 tips for coping with grief and loss, whether you've been betrayed, lost a job, had someone pass away, or moved to a new home. I put out new videos every week, so make sure you subscribe so we don't miss any of our precious time together. Okay, let's get to it. These are my 5 tips for coping with grief and loss. And number 1 is to develop new rituals. So whatever rituals you had around the thing you lost need to be updated. If you and your ex used to go out for a date every Saturday night, don't stay home thinking about what you lost. Do something new on Saturday night that feels good to you. If someone you love died and maybe you used to call them every day, do something different during that time that you used to get on the phone with them. Don't stare at the phone missing them. You really want to think about doing new things, again, in those prompted times, especially because we have sort of a muscle memory that'll make you more depressed and more sad and actually ruminate and really get very focused on what you've lost during those times. So distraction is a beautiful thing. It is not a wrong thing to do in those special times. Okay. Number 2 is you got to change as little as possible. Don't go on a new diet, move home, start boot camp, all at the same time. Again, grieving, even if it's for someone you lost long ago or a long ago breakup or a job you're still upset that you got fired from, it takes a lot of mental bandwidth. So you need all of it, or as much as possible, to deal with your feelings. You've really got to have that. So I know you have more time in your day, but do you have mind in your day? I say that all the time because having time doesn't really mean anything. As you know, you've had time all night to maybe do something after work, and then you found yourself binge watching something on Netflix and eating stuff. You had time left in the day, but you didn't have the bandwidth, you didn't have the wherewithal to go get those things done. So it's this, you've got to make room for all these feelings. So you might feel like, oh, I got all this time, I took time off of work, for this person I lost or this breakup, but don't just, fill every second of that. Give yourself some space to breathe. If you want to add some counseling, that's fine, but don't start trying to live a whole new life all at once. That's the important thing. It's good to keep yourself motivated, but don't go crazy. Number 3, be kind to yourself. Find that self-compassion and be as kind and patient with yourself as possible. Try to stick to a schedule and keep a routine. Go to bed, wake up at the same time each day. Exercise, eat okay, limit drugs and alcohol. Connect with other people. I think you get the picture of what I'm talking about here. And I actually have a whole video I did on self-compassion that I'll link to below. But, I just want to say that out loud, that it's really something that's so important right now is that you're kind to yourself. And again, it doesn't mean that you start all kinds of crazy new things. It just means that you really get that massage, whatever you can do to just help yourself get through this. And as you're watching, if you hear something that really resonates with you, I would love it, leave it down in the comments below, so other people can be inspired by your sharing. And also, just for the record, when you write something down, you're way more likely to lock it in for yourself too. So I love a win-win. So give me a comment below if any of this is really hitting home. All right, number 4 of the 5. This is if someone dies only, and it could be, it's really if someone dies. So this is the only one that's just for that. And that's to keep the relationship going. I often encourage clients, that I work with, really to still think of that person. Because you're still in a relationship with them. You just can't see them. So put out pictures of yourself with them. Speak to them daily. Talk to your kids or, other people about the person you lost. Figure out ways to incorporate a lost loved one into your current life. let them get to know you now. There's, some energy about that that's really important. There's, I do a whole podcast on that, but I'm not going to get into it here. But I really want you to realize that that relationship has just transcended into another level, and you can keep that going. You don't want to spend all your time telling them how much you miss them. Instead, you really want to just keep that connection and really focus on the things you love. When we cremated my dad, I keep his ashes, they're still there, in the kitchen because he was a chef. He loved to cook. And so I chat with him all the time when we're cooking. He loves being in there. I had him in the bedroom for a while, and then, my mom was like, I don't think your dad wants to be in the bedroom with us. And he was right. So he's in the kitchen, but you get the idea. All right. Number 5, last one, is move from the why to the how. So, in the end, you want to move from why did this happen to how can I move forward? What can I do today, right now, to feel different, to think different? Don't focus on the why. Focus on the how. It's not why did this happen, but how can I move forward now? What can I take with me if that's appropriate? What did I learn from that person, from that relationship, from that job? Whatever the thing is I lost, what can I take with me to give it meaning? And how can I use this new way of looking at this thing or person to inform my next steps? This could be having a morning conversation with your dead spouse, to doing a daily morning kindness meditation where you send loving thoughts to your old boss who fired you. And I have a loving kindness meditation that I'll link to below. There's lots of good research on why you should be doing that. But it would really be great. I highly recommend you check it out. Spend 10 minutes of your time. And if you want more tips and to learn how you might be stuck in the grief and loss process, I devoted a whole episode of my podcast to coping with grief and loss, and I'll link to that episode below. So don't forget to, I also have a little extra tip or extra help. You can download my top tips for helping others cope with grief and loss for all things relationships and becoming the happiest you can be in the grief and loss process. And as always, for everything, you can come on over to my website at abbymedcalf.com, and I have tons of free resources there. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you next week.